here, Marcus. Any mind? Welcome, everybody. Are we live? All right. It is Tuesday, March the 15th. Thank you so much for everybody who is tuning in. Ericka McCracken here, your Freedom Facilitator, along with
Marcus Y. Rozier,
Latoya Williams.
And we are here to actually introduce the Freedom Series. If you haven't followed me on social media, which you need to be, so that means Legacy of Ericka on every social media platform, you have seen me post about the Freedom Series. I'm so serious about it because I think in 2016, people need to be free, right? We talk about it. This is going to be my year. We're going to do something different this year. And we end up doing the same thing, carrying the same baggage year after year. And I really want to put that to a halt and actually try something new, do something new, and give you some practical tips. But before I get into all of that other stuff, I want to actually talk to everyday people like myself, because if you read my book, Altercation, if you haven't, you need to, and we'll talk about that later. You've heard my daddy issue stories, but other people, other individuals, hear their stories, see how they've just made changes and how through those freedom, forgiveness, all of those wonderful things, they were able to live a purposeful life. So without further ado, can you just introduce yourself to the people again? You gave me your name, but give them a little bit of something about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm Marcus Y. Rozier. What I do is an author and speaker and coach. Who I am is a person who I feel like it's my job to be a mirror of words, to say something that reminds people of who they are, what they can be. So in a nutshell, that's who I am and that's what I do.
Latoya Williams, speaker and small business coach. I help small business owners and prospective business owners find the profits in their passions, giving them growth strategies, and taking their ideals all the way to the life cycle of revenue generation.
So she helps y'all make that money. In other words. Wow. So we're going to just dive in. It's 7 o'clock. I know you got to fix dinner for Boo and Bay. You got to put the kids to bed. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So we're going to dive right in. So daddy issues. I don't know who wants to go first. Can we just tell me something?
I don't want to follow Marcus.
You don't want to follow Marcus?
I'm going to go first.
So can you just tell like all the people who are viewing and streaming in just about, let's just give a general overview about the relationship that you have or had with your father growing up.
So growing up with my dad in the very early stages, I'd say, all the way up to the age of 8, we were thick as thieves. I was like his biggest fan. We rode tight everywhere he went. I went. Throw a cap on her head. She may be a girl, but she's like a daddy's girl. And so my hair would always look crazy in pictures because my dad would just, pick me up and throw one of his hats on my head, and we were out the door. However, after 8 years old, that kind of transitioned and we became to have this very tumultuous relationship. One that was very combative and even competitive at times. And I'll speak a little bit about that. It kind of all dwindles down to one particular day, and I'll talk about that day. I was at a play date at my friend Latrice Gibson's house. Shout out to Latrice Gibson. Yeah, shout out to Latrice Gibson, because every time I tell this story, I remember her first and last name. Have not seen Latrice since 3rd grade, but Latrice Gibson's house.
If you out there, Latrice,
shout out to Latrice.
Holla at Latrice.
My dad came to pick me up, and when he came to pick me up, there was another little girl in the back seat. And I remember thinking, who is this infringing on my time with my daddy? And so we were driving on the way to my grandma's house, and I remember saying, who is this? Daddy, who is this? And he was like, her name is Pauline. I was like, okay. And I would notice throughout the ride, she would refer to my dad as Dad. And so, quite perplexed and being the ultimate daddy's girl and not liking to share him with anybody, I was like, Dad, what did she call you? And he said, she called me Dad. And that's all he said. Then I remember getting to my grandmother's house, my dad's mom, and my cousins and aunts being there. And we both walk in the door, me still perplexed from the ride over. And everyone knew her. Everyone, kind of opened her, received her with open arms. They clearly had a relationship. And I was like, what is really going on? And I just remember being so upset, running to the bathroom, crying, and my aunt coming to console me, saying, trying to get an understanding of why I was upset. Fast forward maybe 2 hours later, we get home, and I don't know what he thought, whether he thought I was gonna keep it secret, negative. I went directly to tell my mom about the situation. She had no idea. So,
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so if y'all did not hear that, I'm gonna give you a real quick recap. Latoya said at 8 years old, her and her father, like most mother or father and daughter relationships, you're like this. She gets in the car after play date with Latrice Gibson. Now I know Latrice Gibson's name. And there's another young girl in the car referring to her father as father that she's never seen before. She goes to the family house and everybody knows her but you, his actual biological daughter.
Correct.
And now you have gone home.
And I'm telling my mom this story, and she's confused. We're both confused. And what I can now come to the understanding of is he used me to tell my mom because it was getting to a point that he probably could no longer contain the secret. And I always speak my mind. That hasn't changed. It's been the way it's been since I've been a young girl. So clearly I was gonna go tell my mom. And so long story short, she makes him get a DNA test, not his daughter. The actual father, my mom knew.
Okay, I'm sorry. So Maury said, you are not the father.
No, you're not the father. And this is, if I was 9 at the time, she was probably around 5, right?
Wow,
so she was a little bit younger than me. So for 5 years, he took care of this little girl. The family received her with open arms. I now later know that, she would go over to my cousin's house. My aunts would babysit her. It was just like this crazy ordeal. So that was the day I went from daddy's girl to daddy's enemy. And from that point on, we were no longer thick as thieves. From that point on, I didn't really fool with him much. And there began a very tumultuous relationship. At that point, I really couldn't figure out in my later life what led me to become so angry until I did like this exercise.
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
We're going to get to that.
So that's
okay, so if y'all got the gist of it, if you're just tuning in, which I'm sure a few of you are, Latoya here, amazing woman. You grew up with, if your father's in the household, even if he's not, that father-daughter bond is just unmatched, right? Until we find out that they're human. Exactly. And they make a mistake. She found out that she thought that she had another sister outside of her mom, outside of their family. Come to find out, Maury said he is not the father, even though this particular girl had been around the entire family. And you say your father used you as, I guess, the bridge to tell your mother.
That's what I believe now as an adult,
right.
Because
he knew you were going to say something, right?
At
8 years old, exactly.
That's just natural for a kid to talk, right. Especially to my mom.
Right.
And if it was something that upset me, then of course I was going to say something to my mom.
Right.
So
wow.
That's what I later understand the situation to be.
Okay. So, all right. So that's the first relationship. So we have daddy, daughter, from hero to enemy, from helper to hurt. We have that relationship here, which I'm sure a lot of women can attest to. So Marcus, can you give us a little bit of background about your relationship with your father?
Yeah, my story is very peculiar because I'm one of few people who grew up with their father in the household. Every friend that I know didn't grow up with their father. My mother and father are still married, been together for over 40 years, but I sometimes wonder, is it easier to have your father in the household or to have your father physically there, but emotionally, mentally, physically absent? So with him being there, there is this whole thing as the youngest of 4 that you want some sense of approval or there you go, son, or advice. My father was there, but he was preoccupied with fathering multiple churches and business and on down the line. So it wasn't a whole lot of attentiveness. And then times that he was around, it was short fused because he was oftentimes listening, but not listening. So I can remember times of sitting there for hours in meetings and saying, be a big boy, be a big boy.
You telling yourself to be a big boy.
No, he would tell me.
Who's telling you to be a big boy?
Be quiet, do this, do this. And then after hours of making a child conform to being an adult to be quiet and sit still, now your meeting is over and it's, give me some money to go in pocket change while you go somewhere else. No, you need to now be a child and come. Now that I'm older, it's like, how do you ask me to be an adult, but you can't be a child to come sit while I play games where you go somewhere else? So it was that as well as making money more important. If it was going to the mall, going to the movie, he couldn't part ways with physical money. So he would count change and give us like roll pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters.
Hold on, time out. So if y'all have seen, what's the show? Hate About Chris? What is it?
Yeah.
Everybody hates Chris. Your daddy was the daddy of everybody hates Chris. Okay.
I mean, literally, literally could pull out a wad of money and be like, hold on a second, put it back in his pocket, and we're going. You ever seen one of those things, you pour the change and it sorts it for you?
Yes!
That's what it was.
Stop
You would pour it on there, and you would just hear it dangling. Go grab the quarter wrappers. All right, wrap them. Then it was, no, don't take the quarters, take the nickels. So I'm walking through the mall. Pockets on swole with dimes and nits. And I ain't talking about drugs. Pockets on swole with dimes and nits. And it's that all the way back to earlier childhood, where it's tons of pastors that you're arguing with them about the bill. No, I'll pay for it. And then telling us, no, y'all wait until we get back in the car. Y'all can't eat. But you just argued with a grown man about paying for his bill, but told your kids they can't eat. So I grew up thinking we were poor. I didn't know, like I really thought we were poor. I used to take my allowance, sneak it and put it back in my mother's purse. Like those type of things, feeling like we didn't have enough. And she was always buying us things. I never saw her buy us anything. So it wasn't until I was sitting in a seminar, I don't remember, I think it was in Baltimore, Maryland. And a lady asked him a question about acquiring wealth. And he said, I remember when we first got to the place from living in the projects to a place that we were legitimately millionaires. I'm like, hold on. Now, let me rewind to what happened before we went into this meeting. He would buy 2 Whoppers and 2 fries, and as 4 of us, we would split the Whopper and split the fries.
So 4 people eating two, you had to cut the sandwich in half.
Exactly.
And divide the fries in half.
And we could not add any extra. This is how the order would go down. Daddy, I don't want pickles. I don't want this. You all gonna get the same. Just fill it off. All right, let me have 2 Whoppers, plain, no cheese, 2 fries. Burn what you want, which is my mother's name. He'll order hers how she wants, and then order his. Okay, let me have mine with cheese, no pickle.
The fixing, everything.
You know, the details of it. And now fast forward, we sit in the meeting, it's like, millionaire? We ain't no millionaires.
We just spent $5 on a meal
This
for
one
4 people.
$1. Like this is early 90s.
So y'all
was
$4 4 people.
And this is all either we would pack lunches and have to make them and have to eat sandwiches and all this and not doing these things. So this shapes your childhood all the way down to the things that he was a part of. He wasn't a supportive father. They respected him because of his position, because of his influence, because of his money. So now he's too hands-on and he takes over it and runs the team versus support a father. So all those things shaped who I was. And I'd say it's the gift and the curse, because now I still have to struggle with it because it's to overperform. I'm my own worst critic as a result of nobody ever said you're good. So I see that now, but when you're younger, you don't see it, and you feel those holes in your heart with women, you feel it with affirmation, you feel it with all types of things. So now you need a woman to be your cheerleader because your father never was. And one woman, the moment she is close to you, you got to expose yourself in order to be close with her. But the moment you expose and she point out one thing bad, now she's your enemy and you got to find another set of cheerleaders.
Okay, we're going to get to that. All right, so we're going to do a quick recap with Marcus. Marcus, actually, both of you grew up with a father in a home. You just found out a big secret about your father that made him human, which we all do. There's a pivotal point in every child's life where your parents become human beings. Just like your teachers. Prime example, your teachers are teachers, right? But we don't think they're at the grocery store. The day you see your teacher at Kroger, you're like, well, you eat food? What do you mean? You don't understand the school all day? So it's that sense of humanity. Then we have Marcus here. Father grew up in the household. He has other siblings, yet his father, and I learned this today, he felt his father cared for him but didn't love him. Meaning he took care that he had a roof over his head. He might have had half a burger and a half a fry, but he had something to eat. He had something to eat, and he cared for him in the sense that he took care of his family, but he didn't feel the love and affection and receive the affirmations that every child needs from their father. Yeah. So, and this is not, for anyone who's watching, you're just tuning in, this is not a session of just dragging people through the mud. So if you're looking for that, that's not what this is. This is just people living their truth and how they grew up and their perspective. And that's something that you can never change about anybody. You can never tell me, well, and no, you can say it didn't happen that way, but you can't say how it made me feel. You can never argue that point with anybody. So this is not a rant session or a drag on complaining. This is their perspective and how it shaped them. So now I want to go into, and I guess I should introduce mine. If you haven't read my book, shame on you. And to give you a very brief synopsis, grew up with my father for the first 14 years of my life. He left very abruptly right before I turned 15, found out that he had an addiction to drugs, and that kind of tore the family apart. Didn't see him again for probably another 6 or 7 years, and then trying to rebuild that relationship, but dealing with abandonment, dealing with, you always feel like you've done something wrong. Like there was a cause for why this person left. So I got to figure out how I can be Miss Patty Perfect, picture perfect Patty, never to let people leave, even though that continues to happen. Relationship after relationship, but we're going to get to that. So yeah, not great stories, it's sad, but different perspectives. So this is not just me talking. We all have these issues, whether it's mommy, daddy issues. We want to figure out how we got to the other side of it, because we're all here and we're all successful, and not for the fact that we're authors and speakers, but because we've done the work and we've healed and we forgave. Can we get a Oh, thank you so much. And please can ask questions, because we're going to actually start dealing with that Facebook and Periscope. So now that we've discussed the issue, let's talk about how it manifested. And I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but let's start with you. How did that father who thought he had another child outside of the home, and you feel like he probably lied, he's a farce, you're a fraud, how did that manifest in your day-to-day life?
See, I guess when you say, oh, he's human and he made mistakes or whatever, I was always willing to forgive him if he asked for the forgiveness.
Wow.
But he never did. He tried to brush it up under the carpet as if it never happened and never addressing it. And so that began to fester, and my anger began to grow. And, slapped on the fact that, you're a teenager who already has an attitude just in general, because you're a teenager and you don't want to do what nobody wants you to do. And so I grew up with this very kind of combative relationship with my dad.
Okay.
And it even goes as far as, there's one time that sticks out in my mind. He's like, we got into this argument. He told me, you ain't gonna never be shit.
Jeez.
I'm like, okay. And it's, instead of me internalizing that from the standpoint of, maybe I'm not going to be in, I did the opposite. I'm like, oh, for real? Okay. Let me show you exactly what I'm going to be. You say you want to be an accountant? Great. I'm going to do this at the max level. And so I began to form my career around the things that he wanted to do and was never able to do in his life. So he wanted to be an accountant. I became an accountant. And, and then I went on to work for a CPA firm. And then I went on to, and then, I was like, okay, well, how much money is he making? Okay, I'm about to double that. And so it became this competitiveness with him from the standpoint of, oh, you told me I ain't gonna be nothing? Watch me. Watch me show you that I will be something. And I will be, in my opinion, better than you ever were. So, and that just makes you angry. And I showed up in my life as this, in relationships, I was this aggressive chick with men. In relationships with my friends, I was very defensive, couldn't receive critiques and things that I always had to be right.
Okay, stop there. So for the audience, think about that in your life. Like, are you the defensive girl that your bestest friend in the whole wide world can't say nothing to you? Like you said, the very competitive spirit, like, oh, you doing this? Oh, I'm about to do this. How the lack of forgiveness shows up, because even though your father never asked for forgiveness, we know that forgiveness is something that you just have to give. Like, it's
without anything.
It's hard. It's hard.
Right.
It's hard to be like, you didn't ask, but I got to give it to you. But when you don't, that's how it shows up. It shows up in the aggressiveness, in the combativeness, in relationships. I'm trying to forget you being a man. I'm about to show you that I don't really need you, but for maybe a few different things, maybe not even that.
And that was me. And it was, and now I get commentary from friends in college, and they say, you used to be so angry. I used to wonder why you were so mad about everything. And
the angry black woman.
Yeah, I was the angry black chick at work. So even though I was a stellar performer, my disposition outweighed anything that my execution could do. So I was just showing up in my life as this very broken person. So if you know a person that's like that, there's probably a deeper issue there, an untapped issue that hadn't really been resolved. And, well, you hear these people say, oh, forgiveness isn't for you, it's for the other person. And I always thought that was stupid until I really understood at a cellular level what that means. And once I was able to get to that point,
and we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Because we know it took a while.
It took 30 years.
30, she said 30. 30. It took 30 years.
And I'm 35, about to be 36 this year. So I showed up in my life for 30 years as this very aggressive, you know, hey, if you don't like it, you ain't got to be in my life. Delete you, unfriend you. Hashtag don't follow me. You know, I was that girl.
Before the hashtag, you were like, yeah.
Don't follow me then. We ain't gotta be friends then. And, you know, I would cut people out of my life, not think twice about it. I mean, I literally didn't talk to a friend that I was super close with. We got into an argument about Kanye. I don't know Kanye. And nobody knows. I don't know Kanye. She don't know Kanye. We didn't talk for 6 years.
I'm sorry.
Because I was living in this.
Wow.
I'm right.
6 years?
6 years. To the point, I don't even remember what the argument was about at this point.
That's what I was about to ask. Please tell me.
But we didn't talk for a very long time over something that was seemingly stupid and petty and small, but it was the willingness and needing to feel like you were right. And it was like, well, no, she didn't call me. And she was kind of stubborn and saying the same thing. But like, who wants to deal with the person that shows up in your life like that? Who wants to deal with somebody that constantly drains you when you have a conversation with them? Nobody wants to deal with that on a day-to-day basis. And so my circle became smaller and smaller. And in my mind, it was like, well, you know, it needs to be smaller. Everybody can't be your friend, right?
Right. We justify it.
Until you can actually reflect.
Right. I ain't got no friends. Right.
Yeah,
well, I got two. And
I'm owning your stuff.
Right.
So,
right. And I think that you made a good point. And when things like that happen and the lack of forgiveness, when it manifests into aggression and things of that sort, we justify it, right? Because it's always something they've done. Even though we are the common denominator in all of it, we're the common denominator. It's up, y'all don't like to keep it. That was me. I just keep it real. I am not honest. I am brutal. I'll really get to me in a minute. Marcus, how did it manifest?
Carry on with the brutal honesty.
Okay. Well,
I mean, you said it brutal. I am
brutally honest. Like, that was my thing though. Like, forget honesty. I'm about to be brutal, and I'm gonna say it, and you need to receive it. And if you can't receive, then that means you just can't hang. You just weak. And the need to be right always. The need to be telling like I'm keeping it 100. I'm keeping it 100. I'm gonna tell because what I'm feeling, everything I'm telling you is right. So my perspective is just 100% right. And the whole, like, I'll leave you before you leave me. That's how it manifested in my life with abandonment. And I'm sure if anyone out there has been abandoned by a parent, you kind of understand what that is. Like, before you think about leaving me, we have an argument. Oh, I'm done. It could be, Kanye, forget 6 years, we not being friends no more. Oh, that's how you want to act? I don't need you in my life. Don't need you at all. And I have an identical twin, which is even more odd. It made me even more like, oh, I got my sister. Yeah. We weren't weird, but I think anyone can attest who knows we have more friends, but it was just the point of in relationships. Like when me and a man we're dating, I feel like he changing a little bit. He might call every day at 1. If it's 1:30, oh, it's over. That something must have happened and we're done. I'm never gonna see him again. And how crazy it sounds out loud, but that's just what it is. And then when they do call at 1:45, I'm mad. Well, where you been? Because the consistency of someone coming home every day, of like the things that my father did, and once he stopped, he was gone. Like it wasn't a gradual, like it was kind of like, oh, I'm out of here. So I took those signs of you're late as you're gone. Whereas, and think about it, we live in Atlanta in traffic. It is very well, or things happen, life happens. If you can't adjust and be flexible, then that means you're just gonna have an unhappy life or you're gonna be by yourself. So that's how it manifested for me. I'm cutting you off, we have an argument, we done, don't call me, don't find me, ever. That's it. Nothing. You can't come back from that. That's it. And it kept happening. But I kept saying it was everybody else. Like, oh, I just can't find a good man because they just keep leaving. Well, they might keep leaving, but I'm making sure they're gone. And I think that we manifest, I talked about this yesterday at Men Project. We attract what we are. So if you deal with a bunch of broke people, then you broke. And you may not be broke. You might have a broke man and you might have money, but you're broken. And it's just manifests in a different way. And I think that who we are and who we surround ourselves with is a reflection of who we are. And I think when you can realize that, then you will, if your circle is a bunch of drama, that means that you enjoy drama and that you have drama. So when I learned that, I was like, okay, I get it. And I manifested me, them or me feeling abandoned. I manifested in the way that I picked people who would just leave. They didn't have those coping skills. So it's all a reflection of me, but yeah, child, brutally. Back to you, Marcus.
I think we gotta hold hands and pray real quick.
Don't we? Look, get around. I need to pray for a long time. Yes.
Yeah, I'm too ready to cut somebody off just to tell them have a good day. You don't tell me what to do.
I'm gonna have a great day. What you mean?
I'm trying to tell you. I guess the way mine manifested is, I would say some negative, some positive. I'd say both. The negative side of it was the way that I treated women was selfish. So everything was about me. I can't say so much friendship because I still to this day valued it, but I didn't treat women in the best way. Not so much dogging them out or nothing like that, but always being about myself. So that need, like I said, to feel affirmed showed up and found itself in the affirmation of women. You enjoy when you first meet them, you're the most wonderful thing in the world. They're not asking for consistency, but even a woman asking for consistency comes off as nagging, and now you got to find somebody else that's fine with it. So you needing an entire team to cheer for you to fill the hole for what one person could or couldn't do. And even your mother can't make up for that. My mother was phenomenal. I always say outside of God, nobody else has instilled more in me than my mother. But you still need it. When your father's there and you're doing all these things and it still isn't a thing where they come to where you are, but always pulling you to where they are, it's a hole in that space. So I still now feel bad about how it was acted out and how you mismanage a woman's emotions. On the flip side of that, why I say it's positive is because it instilled in me such a drive and work ethic from middle school, high school. My pain threshold was through the roof to where I don't have that thing that a person has that says, I'm tired, I'll quit. If I ain't done, I don't quit. And I think that's because I watched what I felt like him not pushing through to make certain things happen. Or the whole, we got to get it done. We got to do this. And nobody going to look out for you like you. So I remember in high school going into college, I tore my ACL, tore my MCL, and continued to play.
Nice.
And it just all the time was tearing it up more and more and more. Finally tore like my patellar pad to where it was flapping in my leg, where it would wedge, and I couldn't straighten or bend my leg. A certain time would have no strength to lift it up. But I still kept playing. I played entire 40-something games like that. So when they finally looked at my knee to finally do it years later, it was like, how are you even walking? It got to a place where it was either get it fixed or you're going to need a knee replacement. It's that mentality that still was the positive. It sounds negative, but the positive aspect that shapes who I am now, where once I lock in on something I want to do, we're going to get it done. You don't need no praise, no affirmation. I don't linger long on, this is what you did well. As soon as I'm done, it's on to the next thing. I don't dwell in it. I don't sit in it. But it's the bad side of it because I never take a break long enough to cheer for myself. So I got to figure out a way now at 31 to balance it. Like you and I talked about it recently. I released an audio soundtrack. 3 days later, I forgot I even released it. I'm on to the next. Now I got to get this done. I got to do this. Like, yo, you just released a book and audio soundtrack. Like,
an amazing book and audio soundtrack.
In 3 days, you know. And I think it's that always the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Okay, how do I get here? So that's how it manifested itself and still manifested where I have to pull back. My relationship with God has been a sounding board for me. It's been the thing I said, I forgive without an apology as well as never be mad longer than it takes to say, I don't like what you did. And before I would say nothing at all. Now, not rude or anything, but let me check you on that. Let me say, hey, I really don't like how you said that. And if you continue to do that, okay, you don't care. I'm going to swallow that. I will agree to disagree, but I'm not going to hold it in. So it manifests itself in those ways. And now I'm still improving to become a better person.
That's awesome, man. That's some good stuff.
Some good stuff.
Very good. All right, so we've talked about the daddy issue. We've talked about how it's manifested itself. For the lack of forgiveness, for those 30 odd years, for me, 15 years, not sure how long for you, Marcus, but those years when we just were going with the motions. And there's a lot of people out there who just continuing to just live life, continue these patterns, but it's like, well, it'll be all right. It'll work itself out. And it's an inside job. And I tell people all the time, you got to do the work because I love every new year. It's a blessing. You're excited, but we are already in March. We're already almost done with the first quarter of 2016. And if you're still in the same sort of situation, you're still wanting these goals and aspirations that you set out for yourself, but you're still doing the same stuff, hoping, like what's that, insanity, hoping to get a different result. Yeah. That ain't, we try to stop that. So we try to cut those generational curses because oftentimes they come from generation to generation because those parents, that grandparent, whoever it is, they don't know. They don't know any better, right? And sometimes we harp on what our parents did, on what our fathers did, but sometimes they're actually doing better than what their father did, and their grandfather did. Like, it's, does that make sense?
It makes tons of sense.
Like, when you take it back, it's like, man, you did all this, but I forgot what I watched, and it was like, well, you was never there for me. You never did anything. And then the grandfather was like, or the father was like, well, my father wasn't even there, so at least I made sure you had something to eat, even though it wasn't what you wanted. They did enough. And then the other like, it just. I talk about the humanizing thing in a way of seeing their faults, but it's also a way of seeing their growth as well. So, yeah.
Lack of forgiveness doesn't even allow you to see that.
It doesn't. Lack of forgiveness takes the veil.
You're holding on to who they were at that point in time or whatever that scenario was, and that doesn't allow them to grow, and it doesn't allow you to see them through a prism of newness.
Absolutely.
You still think they are the same person. When you grow, you want people to be like, see your growth, but you're not willing to see the same thing for other people. You have them stuck.
Absolutely.
In this place. And so.
Absolutely. So we're going to go to, okay, we've talked about the issue. We've talked about how it manifested. Let's talk about the solution. When did you finally come to a point where you were like, you know what, enough is enough. I want different. I realize I'm not fulfilled. I realize I'm not happy, and I want something new. When did you reach that bottom?
So knowing that there was a problem, probably around the age of 27. And that same friend that I had cut off for 6 years, I remember having a conversation with her, and I said, you know, I don't know why I'm just like so angry all the time. The slightest thing sets me off. No idea what's going on with me. And she was like, maybe you should like go to this one course. I've never been to it, but you know, a couple friends told me about it. Maybe you should go. They seem to be happy after the fact. Mm-hmm. And it was Landmark Forum. And so I was like, all right, they want me to pay $600. You want me to go to this? And she was like, yeah, I think you should go to it. Here's a couple friends, talk to them about it, and, you know, get some information. So I talked to the friends that I didn't know, and they're like, yeah, it changed my life, blah, blah, blah. And I had never done anything remotely as expensive as this, as more as intensive as this was. So it was a 3-day course, but I remember this one exercise, and it was called the identity exercise. And they said there was something that happened in your life from the ages of 6 to 9 where you thought you weren't enough. And you are still living in that portion of your identity. Immediately, that story came to my mind. Latrice Gibson, it all became very clear. Before I hadn't thought about it, before I thought I was over it, I had never even talked about this situation after the fact, you know, other than, you know, some conversations here and there with my mom and my sister. I had never really breathed a word about it because, you know, sometimes we're like, what happened in my house stays in my house, right? So I never really talked about the incident, but I was immediately able to go to that event. And they say, yeah, this is your identity blueprint. And this is who you're living as. I'm like, but I'm 27. This happened when I was 9. Right. So that was the first clue. And while I had the awareness at that point in time, the action was slower to come. It literally took an ex-boyfriend saying to me at a time in which I was open to receive, because before I was, you know, very defensive, and it's hard to slide your words in if the person is defensive, right? And he would always say, you got your porcupine quills just kind of stand up. And I'm like, what? He's like, now I'm an animal, right? But he said, he's like, we can have a very happy life together, but we cannot have that with me, you, and your daddy. Okay, let's just put a
boom.
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic.
Close the curtains. Say what?
All right. So, single ladies and men, because we know that relationships are a hot topic. We always try to buy books and figure out how we can get this man, how we can get this woman, how we can have forever. This man was very kind enough to not just leave, but to say this. And I want you to repeat it one more time for people. He said, we can have a very happy life together, but we can't have a happy life with me, you, and your daddy. Me, you, and your daddy. So I say all that to say that was genius. He could write a book on that. He could. You and your daddy. Me, you, and your grandma. Me, you, and your best friend. Me, you, and your sister. We can replace daddy with anybody, right? So, and essentially, I think the point is, if you don't forgive, you're bringing that person with you, or all the people with you. Yes. So and all those issues and all those, you ain't gonna never be nothing. So I'm trying to prove you wrong all the time. Like, it's showing up in our everyday lives together. Like,
I am this person to you. Like, you get to see all those. You get to see the angry black chick at work. You get to see the defensive person. You get to see the aggressive person. Because, you know, you're in a relationship. In a long term, when they see all sides, right? There's no hiding in that.
Right.
And he said that. And I happened to be open in that point in time to receive what he's saying and really receive it. And I just remember, like, boo-hoo crying because he was right. And it's crazy how God works, because in that same weekend, remember, I spent 27 years basically trying to prove my dad wrong and really just looking for his approval, right? That happened on a Saturday. Literally that Monday, my dad called me. He was like, hey, you know, just thinking, you know, I don't know what I ever said to you, but I want you to know that I am very proud of you. I'm so proud of everything that you've done in your life. I'm so proud of your accomplishments. And in that moment, I was able to let it go, because that's what I was looking for.
The whole time, right.
The whole time I was waiting on him to give me his approval, and holding my anger about my childhood against him as an adult. And it was just messing up my life. In that weekend, I was literally able to let it go. And I can't explain just the shift in my life since then. Like, when your mama says, oh my gosh, you know, you're different. Or when your sister, people that they know you better than you know yourself sometimes, when they can notice the change in you, then you know it's real. It's not temporary when, you know, people who are the closest to you can identify with your change. My sister was like, listen, I never really wanted to go on trips with you because you always need to be right. And like, we take 10-day trips down to all the, you know, like, you know.
She said, no, Latoya gone?
No, my sister was like, literally, we never had, like, you know, we would have this sort of, you know, because I always need to be right. And so when a person always needs to be right, you can't really have a conversation with the person, right? And so while they loved me, they knew me as that person. And so, like, when people that are close to you recognize your change, that's when you know it's real and that it's lasting. Because my family, I don't know about y'all family, but my family, they not gonna mince words with you. They gonna let you know they gonna let you know what's real. So that's that weekend, and just really being more self-aware. Because I'm not gonna sit here and say that, oh, I never try to be right anymore. Because it still crops up from time to time, but I'm able to check myself. Like, are you just trying to be right in this moment? Let it go.
Meaning almost every day.
Yeah, like, I literally have to like check myself when she tries to crop up again, and like, listen, we're not going backwards. You gotta set. You gotta. It's almost like it's not that serious. Let it go. It's a Jay-Z song. Let it go.
You said that. You said crops up time. Everyday struggle, not to be telling people off. It's everyday struggle.
Right.
But I think what you said was good. How God works, meaning like when you take one step, God will just literally pick you up and lift you, and it's like, baby, thank you.
What I've been waiting on.
And He will open the floodgates. Because something similar happened to me in a relationship. We broke up, never knew why. It wasn't a bad breakup, just didn't know why. This whole time, like, why? What happened? What did I do? Like, I just don't understand. To me, like, nobody else was hearing this, but I was, we just ain't together. It just ain't work out. But at home, I was like, oh gosh. So I'm watching the episode of Celebrity Fit Club. If y'all remember Celebrity Fit Club, and it was Kevin Federline and Shaw Jackson. And I'm just watching.
Talking about
throwback, the reunion, and I'm watching it. And the whole time they're on the show, and they're just like real cordial. But it's like there was a big scandal here. It was something big, and they never really addressed it until the final weigh-in. And she goes up and she gets her results. Yeah, you done lost the weight. Whoopie doo. And Kevin said to her, "You know what, Shar? I never apologized for what happened. And I know that it must have been a lot on you. You were pregnant, everything. And I just want to say I'm sorry." And she cried, like, "Oh, that's all I ever wanted. Like, that person was not the same person I fell in love with. I get it. And I accept your apology." So I'm sitting here, like bawling. And my sister's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, all I want is an apology. I just don't know what happened. And literally 2 days later, that ex-boyfriend called me. We talked it out, and it wasn't like, "Baby, I want you back. I just want to know what happened." And he explained it, and it was like, oh. And like literally, I met someone else in a month. We dated for a long time. The point is, like, when you make that, that's a scope for a whole other day. But I say all that to say is that they send more people at I didn't remember that. Just you want me whether that, but I can't take you nowhere, right? But I still have to say saying that it was like when God, like literally, I took one step and God like lifted me up, baby. I love you, and here's all the stuff I have for you. So,
and one thing I would say that forgiveness gave me was a lot more self-awareness. I mean, I was able to call that friend up that I hadn't talked to in 6 years and say, hey, you know, I know we hadn't talked in 6 years, and I apologize for. I took 100% responsibility for the fallout, regardless of whether she played a part in it or not. I couldn't worry about that. All I could talk about was my bad in the situation. So that's what it had me do in my life. Like, you know, had me calling up exes, like, you know, listen, yeah, I know I told you I didn't need you, and it probably hurt your ego. You know, like having me like address the situations and things that I may have said to people that were wrong, because I was a lot more self-aware, and forgiveness gave me self-awareness.
Forgiveness, and Kanye had 2 more albums. Graduation.
I'm still not a fan. Sorry.
Graduation came out. Can we look? He's off now. Marcus, where was the bottom, or where was the awakening for you?
It was a couple times. I can't think of one. I was sitting here processing while she was talking, trying to think of one scenario. The reason why I say it's a couple of times, because the first time that I thought that it was reconciled was when I came into his world. During this time, I was working for them. My parents are in full-time ministry, so now I'm functioning in that. So you start thinking, okay, we're always together, we're hanging out, we're traveling together, and then it hits you again. You don't care about me. You just like the fact that I love what you love. So it's more so you embrace me because I'm a part of what you've always been committed to versus me. So that's why I say it broke apart again, and was a process that I was going through and trying to figure it out and have that conversation. And it's hard to have it when now you're not just son, you work for this person.
You're an employee now.
Yeah. So now you hold all the cards. So years and years later, we were able to have some conversations, and it wasn't so much to me, it was overhearing just how proud he was talking to other people. Every time, random people you run into. Your dad said this, your dad said this. So it's like, oh, what she said?
Never said it to you.
Yeah. But you start recognizing, okay, well, maybe he is proud and sees what you're doing, because you're working and don't know that he knows how much information you're taking in, how many things you're doing, until other people are pointing it out to you. Then I hit a point as I was getting older, I would say, man, reverting back to like 28, 29, I hit a critical point and just made a decision or a process of what a man is. And that was that defining moment where I put together this thing called The Day I Became a Man, where I had 4 friends of mine sit down with me, moving towards being 30, and just talk about who I was younger, what things to look out for. They were all over 30. And I started critically thinking backwards to things that are most important, mile markers, what I want to be represented as. I started thinking more future, like how do I live beyond the grave, that even when I'm gone, what would they say about me? And that really made me revert back to being all those things that he was. And I had to think about his father was born in 1909, like much older. His mother was born in the 1920s during the Great Depression. They raised him during an area they didn't believe in banks. So he grew up very impoverished.
Interesting.
Yeah, he said, finally having a conversation with him, he said that he's never seen his mother and father even hug. So when I asked him, I said, well, why I never saw you hug your mother? He was like, if I hug my mom, she'll probably think I was dying. So it's those things that you start understanding. He never had a chance. He never had a fair shot. Now, it doesn't give him an excuse, but it does at least give me the understanding of it. And we then became more friends, where I noticed he started asking me questions and seeing such a maturity to where he was able to ask me things, and we talk back and forth and become friends. Now, is it an easy scenario once you even assume the role of friends to then think, I still want X, Y, and Z, or is it a sore spot when you see one young man talking about how close him and his father are? You know, so now we're much better. We're much, much, much better. But I now recognize that I'm 31 years old, and so many things he did give. So, son, pay your bills. Credit is important. Financial literacy. Some of my friends wish their father taught them anything. I bought my first home at 19. I was able to put the money in place, but I had to understand all the drive to do it based on the upbringing. I sat and watched my father close deals on houses. So to be able to do those things, you revert back and see that he did position you for other things that did affect your life in a positive way. So I had to count that backwards and say, let's add up the list of things he did do. He was there. Never heard him use profanity. Never saw him put his hands on my mother. Never, just on down the line what he stood for. is much more than the small things that I wanted or needed.
Gotcha. And I think you brought some good points, Marcus, because forgiveness, we like to villainize people, right? They're just all the way wrong and bad when they've done something to you, right? And y'all can attest, that girl, that boy, that daddy, oh, he ain't right. He don't never do nothing right. He ain't never called me. He ain't never come to my game.
Women do you like that. Especially my ex.
And Marcus did nothing wrong. I know.
No, not at all. People over me for a basketball game. Back in my good basketball days.
I'm sure it's more to that story.
We know it's more to that story. But I like it. Marcus brought up a very good point. We villainize people and we forget about the good that they do. As soon as they do something bad, you wrong. Why you do that? You ain't never about nothing. You ain't never gonna be nothing. You always lying to people or whatever. And we never count the good things that they do. Like I talked about my dad, and years ago before we talked and I was healed. If you all brought up my father's name, yeah, he left. Like I made that his identity, that he was an abandoner.
Wow,
so
that was a good point.
Oh,
I want to be facetious.
I created my father's identity by what he did. So we do that often to people who do us wrong and harm, and we discount everything else that they've done. Now, my father was in the military. We traveled. We always had a roof over our head. We always had, clothing. He was very big on education and history. He pushed me to want to make sure, first generation to go to college. He did all those things, but I couldn't get past the abandoner. Like that discounted everything, and we can't do that to people. We can't say you've done this one thing, so wipe the slate clean of everything good that you've done, and now we have marked you and we have changed your identification to this one word or these two words. We can't do that to people. It's just not fair, because we all when I tell you Ericka McCracken, there's somebody out there somewhere who's like that. Oh no. That husband, that's whatever, somebody out there. I have done something. I apologize. I'm sorry. I was young. I'm still young. But I'm sure I've done something. But there's someone out there who I'm a villain in their eyes. Whereas someone else out there, I'm a hero. So how can you juggle between the two? You can't. Because why do I have to be one or the other? I have villainized people with my actions, with my words. I've done that. But I'm not a villain. My father left the household, but he is not an abandoner. He kept the job. He helped raise, like, you get what I'm saying? Your father may have had a child out of wedlock, but he was still a provider. He was still a motivator. Your father may have not been there emotionally, but he was still a provider. He still birthed many churches. Like, we gotta stop discounting people and making them into one thing. How would you like if somebody took you and just changed your whole identity, everything, and just changed it to one or two words and made that you? And I talk about this in reality shows because I partake in a few. However, when we get to the point where we think we know these people, and you spend 37 minutes with them, and now you know everything about them, right? And I guarantee you, if somebody followed you around for 24 hours, 24 hours, just 12, somebody followed you for 12 hours, how would you be viewed? Because I am sure that I have, in them 12 hours, I have said something, I have done something, but people don't see that, right? Right. But we watch it when we think we know them, and now you have changed your identity to a deadbeat, a womanizer, and I'm not saying that they don't have these attributes, but we can't say that is totally them in 37 minutes. You just can't do it. I don't care if they've been on the show for 10 years. You just can't do it. So we got to stop villainizing people. We got to start humanizing people, and we have to stop creating identities.
And one thing important about forgiveness, and this whole cliche of forgiveness is not for you, it's for the other people. Again, even if they are that type of person, even if they do still exhibit those personality traits, when you say you forgive them, it's not about them changing. It's about you responding to them differently, or not letting them get to you as much. You're telling yourself that I refuse to let myself continue to be mad about this, and thus refuse to let this get on my nerves anymore, because they still may be the same, right? And it doesn't, and we can't change people. And I think the news flash is we have the power to change no one, and there's nothing we can do about us being 9 or 6 or your daddy 9. We can't do nothing. I can't do nothing about my father leaving at 14. Can't do nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. The only thing that I can do is be a better person and be more aware. And when you're aware, that's when you make the tweaks and the changes, because we walk around blindly, right? We walk around with this veil of perfection that we got the perfect selfie, we got the perfect, flyer. I can post my pretty little picture on this flyer, and that's me. Y'all wonderful. This is me.
No, it's life ain't about that. But you can just be aware of things, and when you're aware, you can tweak. Because tomorrow, I'm still probably have to hold my tongue from telling somebody else. Tonight, I'm talking about tomorrow. It's only 7:50, 30. I can't 7 something. So I might need some prayer in another 20 minutes. But when you're aware, then you can just be like, you know what? Just rip it up and throw it in the trash. Or I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna apologize and say, Lord Jesus, I'm sorry. You know my heart. I'm working on it. Or I can have people who are accountable to me, and I'll be like, Latoya, you just wrong. Just be quiet. Or Marcus, you good. And I tell this brother all the time and how amazing he is, and not to gas him up, and not that he's that amazing, because he alright. But he's an amazing speaker, and I have to continue to pour in and be like, yo, you are awesome. You are awesome in what your purpose is. It's wonderful to see people living in purpose, and that's what this ultimately is about. It's about you living in purpose. It ain't about us sitting up here just telling you the stuff to be talking, because we like to talk, but it's about your purpose, because you're merely existing if you're just walking around doing this job and just living small, because you're holding somebody else up. And I say it all the time. You hold me up, because it's like Marcus, like you say, if you have this business that you're supposed to hire me for, but you still talking about your daddy, exactly. You holding up my job. You holding up what I'm supposed to be doing. Does that make sense to everybody? We're gonna get to questions and whatnot, but I want to thank y'all.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, because this is not easy. It's taken us years to be able to have these conversations, to be able to laugh about it. Because we were like, oh yeah, you can talk about your dad and be ready to cry. Yeah. And be ready to just break down and fall into a corner. Like, this is not easy, but we do it because we understand why. There's definitely a why. So is there any, before we get into questions from people who are online, do we have any lasting remarks? Marcus, we'll go to you first. Anything you want to say to people to kind of rein in on the daddy issues? Anyone out there who has this issue, what would you like to say to them?
I think at a certain point you have to step back from life, like really play it out. Some people are addicted to the persona that they created in their own mind. So they're the hero of every story, and everybody else is the villain. So at a certain point, you step back from your life and replay moments, scenarios, situations as if you were not in it. And if you can do that, you can begin to see there's a current trend, you know, or even if the person was bad. Some people say, fool me once, shame on you, shame on me, fool me twice. Oh, I have the quote ball. I just think if somebody continues to fool you, they're just good at it. That's what they do. You know, no matter what you do, how you frame it, that's who they are. You are wrong, and you're cheating yourself if you conform and become what the person was to keep from being hurt. Because in essence, you lost the strength of what you could be and became what you hated. So it's important to stay grounded in.
Say that again.
You become what you hate in order to protect yourself. But you know, once that's done, you're gonna build a prison around yourself and lock yourself into something that you can't get out of.
Prison. And I talk about that. People walk around in prison all day, every day, but don't even know it because you're not in handcuffs.
Absolutely.
But you stuck.
Absolutely. You know, the most freeing thing, and I'm done with this, the most freeing thing you could ever do is really change the narrative of everything and see everything with, like, I look at my life as a trend where I live in moments but recognize moments, if that makes sense. Like, to really know that while you're living and existing in this moment we're sharing right now, to recognize a moment and store it and say, I got to look back and remember that. And be able to replay those things, and I look and can see critical moments, because everybody has made one decision, one moment, one thing that if you went back and done it differently, it changed the course of your life. And you got to take full responsibility of that, but love yourself unapologetically, forgive yourself consistently, and give to yourself the same thing you gave to other people.
And that's always so much harder to do, to forgive yourself. It may be easier to forgive other people, but it's a different level of forgiveness when it comes to you. Because we hold ourselves to such high standards, and we live in this, you know, perfect patty circle of life. You feel like you have to be perfect at everything you do, and you never get around to forgiving yourself. And that's the ultimate forgiveness. It's when you can say to yourself, oh, okay, you can move on. Because I still replay things that I've done in the past, and like, every time I think about it, I'm like,
I cringe, right?
Yeah, I cringe. Just like, I hope I never run into that person.
I done told them all for the last time, right?
Or like, it makes you feel bad. Like, you know, even things as kids, I run into people that I go home and I see people and I'm like, somebody gonna have me on some show saying that, you know, I was mean to them as a kid. I don't want to be on no show.
I remember Latoya Williams.
Somebody probably remember my name like I remember Latrice Gibson. Okay.
Latrice, if you out there, please give us
Shout out to Latrice.
Please holler at us.
I think one of the most important things to recognize about forgiveness is you're at a stalemate. You cannot move forward, or you cannot get all that's coming to you, or you cannot be able to give what you're supposed to give to this world if you're stuck in a stalemate. And forgiveness will hold up your life like that. And until you get beyond it, you won't be able to, dwell in the space that you're supposed to in this life. And that's what I usher you to do. If there's something out there that, you want to do and you wonder why it's not happening for you, or you wondering why you still, feel the same about your life year after year after year, look back. It may be something that you haven't let go of yet. And that could be the very thing that's the catalyst to change in your life. So be more introspective about forgiveness.
I think that's a very good point. And I don't know if I can, without just reiterating what you all said, great points. Get yourself out of prison, and not, because I was in prison for 14 years, and not a prison of, like I said, of conjugal visits and bars and sorry, that was the first thing I think about. Not in that prison. I was in a prison of the mind. Yeah, I was in a prison where I couldn't get past this particular point in my life. When it came to my love and relationships, I just couldn't get past this hump. Like in about a year, done zone. Done. I could almost have a countdown and be like, all right, y'all, we had 360 days. We have 5 more days left. And like, for instance, 1 year, for 3 years, either 2 or 3 years, 3 years straight, same fast. I was broken up with 3 years, same day, January 4th.
Say what?
Yeah, January 4th.
Jeez.
That's interesting.
The first year I was like, oh man, thank you, Lord, for releasing him. I'm on a fast. The second year I was like, okay, Jesus, Lord, what this a joke? And the third year, I think I broke him. It might have been the 8th. It might have been the 8th. It was in January. It was around same everything. So I said I'm saying that it's like Groundhog Day. Like you keep repeating these things until you wake up and get it. So I can laugh at it now, but I'm telling you, January 3rd, y'all, I was sweating like, we're gonna be over. So yes, sweating. So once I got past that point and forgave my father and really saw him for who he is, loved him for who he is, and forgave myself for all the mistakes I made. Because sometimes we think we haven't forgiven, so it's too late now. 10 years, then past 20 years, and that's never. God will give you all he has for you immediately. You take one step, he's going to take 20 towards you. So don't negate the power of God, his influence. And that there's a scripture that says something like, I will restore all the days, like nothing will be lost. I will collect all your tears. It's the truth. He did. He literally collected all. And all that stuff seems like a mere memory now. Where at the time it was like, no, January 3rd, the phone is gone. Yeah, so I hope that you guys learned a lot from us. And I also want to introduce something amazing because I'm not just gonna talk about these wonderful things and you go about your life and you still keep making the same mistakes, still holding grudges against people. Kanye came out with another 3 hours, we still not talking. None of that. I want you to actually forgive and have practical steps because we know the why. If you're a believer like we all are, we know Jesus forgave, the ultimate forgiver. He forgave, and he didn't have to. Like, he did nothing wrong. He literally came in and took our pain, took everything because he loved us so much. So we know why to forgive. It's just hard. The how is when we get stuck up. How? So I have created a book titled Let It Burn. Like light a match, let that burn. 7 ways to ignite your future through forgiveness. 7 ways. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 ways to ignite your future. And it's not going to take 7 days to do this, but I'm going to give you practical steps to help you work through forgiveness, to help you and to break it down to that level where you're like, I can do this, or I can do step 1, and then we'll get to step 2, and then we'll get to step 3. So 7 ways. Let it burn. Put a match to that thing. Let it burn. 7 ways to ignite your future through forgiveness. It's amazing, not just because I wrote it, but because it's helpful. You all are going to enjoy it. If you're out there struggling and you want to get to purpose, you want to figure out what your purpose is, or you want to walk in it, or you want to just let that, man, it's heavy. It's heavy carrying people and carrying situations. It's literally like if you're always stressed and your body is aching, you're probably carrying some stuff that you don't need to be carrying. You should be living fancy foot free, right? Footloose and fancy free?
Yes.
I was getting close. Footloose and fancy free. And if you not, because you carrying all this stuff, and you got migraines, you got headaches, and your body off, and your blood pressure high, and you got all this, that ain't, you need to go ahead and let that go. So go ahead and get this book. It will be out in the next few months. So I am looking forward to the feedback, and I'm also going to conduct virtual workshops. So the only thing that you need is Wi-Fi and to speak English. I have not taken my Rosetta Stone. I'm sorry, y'all. I ain't got nothing but English for you. But if you speak English, we can do virtual workshops to work through the book. So I'm not just going to throw the book at you and just say, figure it out. You can actually come work with me one-on-one or a group. Have a group of people. Let's work. Let's talk about it. Wi-Fi is going to be amazing, and we're going to work through the process, and that's the goal. And you can actually speak to the author. How cool is that to write a book and actually speak to the author, and not my agent, not my people's, I'm a holler. No, you can actually speak to me directly, and you can ask questions about the book. I can give you feedback. That is amazing. I'm excited. So thank you all for those who have tuned in. We're going to get to a few questions on Periscope before I let these wonderful people go. And I just thank you so much for taking the time out to spend your evening with us, to hear our stories, to hear us laugh, to hear us be candid and truthful. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. So we want to say thank you on behalf of all of us. Before we get to questions, where can we find you, Marcus?
I'm the easiest person in the world to find, with either FBI or jealous girlfriend.
Oh.
And Marcus, the letter Y, Rosier, R-O-S-I-E-R. So at Marcus Y Rosier, R-O-S-I-E-R.
At Latoya_speaks, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Latoya_speaks. And Legacy Ericka, if you're on here, same platform, Legacy of Ericka, E-R-I-C-K-A, C and a K, every platform. So if you're not following me, you need to like go on Instagram, you need to go on Periscope, and just, you know, go ahead and follow your girl, get all the updates. You want to get this book because it's amazing. My book Altercation is also amazing. If you don't have it, please get it. Shoot me an email, legacyofericka@gmail.com. We are actually doing something in Cobb County next month, Convos and Conversations. We're going to break down the book. If you have a book club, you want to talk about relationships, not the typical, 90 days, you need to do this or whatever, but you want to really have a candid conversation about relationships, forgiveness, holla at your girl. And yeah, we're going to go to a few questions. Who has questions?
How do they make them show up?
They should just be popping up.
Oh.
Did you have a few while we were talking?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I had a few people that I saw join, and they were putting hearts on.
Y'all excuse my lady. She is new to Periscope. So,
Saw joy.
are you still on?
It says I don't know. I don't think anybody has questions. We couldn't find them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we thank you. Please.
I think Shaka Zulu said hi earlier.
Hi. Oh, then he is. Yeah, he's very consistent. We appreciate you. We're gonna be doing this next week, same time, 7 o'clock, and we're talking about relationship issues, like you and your boo and your babe, why it ain't working out, how you can get over that thing, get you a new thing. So next Tuesday, March 22nd, 7 p.m. I will holler at you, Minyana. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't you want to turn off the Google?